I've just been given the keys to a cop car. Let's drive.
Let's go left. Sweet.
Pretty soon you'll be seeing new police cars on the road, and Ford was nice enough to invite me along to their new Police Interceptor launch event. When I arrived, I realized I was one of the only people who wasn't a cop. No pressure. Here's what you need to know. There's 3 models. There's the naturally aspirated 3.3 liter, the hybrid 3.3 liter V6, and the fast one. That's the 3 liter Ecoboost. When I announced that I was going to this launch on Instagram, I was asked constantly, can I outrun them? Now, I'd highly advise against that if you're planning to outrun it anywhere other than a drag strip. And in that case, you won't have much trouble edging out the 3.3 liter and the hybrid. But the 3 liter Ecoboost feels more like a Raptor than an Explorer when you bury that pedal. Along with the new chassis, the Police Interceptors are able to withstand rear-end crashes up to 75 miles per hour, rather than the standard 50. And this makes sense since they're often posted on the side of the road idle, on detail, or pulling one of you over. Police Interceptors also gain upgraded brakes and suspension. But the hybrid is where Ford has really made strides to change the game, and that's why we're here. We've all seen New York City police Priuses and plug-in hybrids, and sure, that works great to save fuel when idling in the city and putting around, but they are not pursuit vehicles. This is the first pursuit hybrid. The beauty of this is that if you were to idle for 2 hours with lights, computers, air conditioning, all the equipment running in this vehicle, the internal combustion engine would only need to be running for 24 minutes to keep this going. Police cars aren't always used just to track you down when you're speeding. They're basically rolling offices for police officers. So this savings is not insignificant. So how does it drive? Well, I definitely noticed that the hybrid felt heavier than the other 2 vehicles, and more importantly, the brakes were probably the most quirky feature of this vehicle. Now, I was told that these were pre-production vehicles, so this might be ironed out when it is production, but I'll likely never drive a production police car. But because this hybrid system has a regenerative braking system, it felt like the brakes were applied in 2 stages. So first, the mechanical pad against rotor, you get into the brakes, but then it felt like there was a second wave of braking that was a bit aggressive, and that was the regenerative braking system kicking in. So if I were to be trail braking to a corner, it was a little difficult to modulate exactly when those brakes were going to come on and what my braking power was. But again, this is pre-production. I'm sure they'll iron that out a bit and hopefully finesse that so it's a lot more smooth and you don't even notice that it's a hybrid.
So right now we're driving the 3.3 naturally aspirated. This is probably what you're gonna see mostly, especially in local police forces. And for the first time, and likely the last time, I am chauffeuring an officer behind me. So let's see what the 3.3 is made out of. Brakes are much more predictable than the hybrid without that regen. And you definitely notice the weight that's not in this, that is in the hybrid, because we're about 400 pounds lighter than that. So let's try right here. Yeah, weight transfer is quite a bit nicer. Little shuffle steer, wide open. But hey, that's nice. A little lift off on that rear end. I like that. Feel a little Focus ST DNA in here.
Dynamically, they're all very interesting because they're all-wheel drive systems, but they are rear biased. So that means coming out of a corner wide open, you start to feel the tail play around a little bit. Now, all of the systems were on. I wasn't able to turn off traction, and honestly, I don't think you can turn off traction completely on these vehicles. But even with the nannies, you notice that that power is going to the rear wheels. Police tend to be a little old school, so introducing a new vehicle like this, especially using the H word, can be daunting. And they may not be apt to go buy this, especially because of the technical complexities of a hybrid. However, Ford has an answer to this. They warranty everything related to the hybrid system, that's battery and all, for 8 years and 100,000 miles. So that should take a little bit of the pressure off police departments who are wary of the new tech. And to give you an idea of how old school some of these police are, yes, they did ask if they would bring back the Crown Victoria, and the answer is no. I've never autocrossed an SUV. A lot of steering input is required, and it was a fairly different experience for me, but I had a lot of fun. And I'll be honest, these trucks hustle.
This feels a heck of a lot more like a Raptor than the other ones.
But you've got to beware the understeer on the hairpin.
It wasn't looking up, but you're getting there quicker in this car than you are the other two. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Ford, for the experience. This was a really fun launch to go on, especially because it's a vehicle that I will never be a consumer of. I will only be hopefully avoiding in my life. But I do think that the police departments who purchase these cars, whether or not they go for the hybrid, the Ecoboost, or what they'll probably end up buying the most, the 3.3 liter naturally aspirated version, they're going to be happy. These are really good, dynamically advanced chassis, and they're safer. And while we weren't able to test it out, Ford has also installed proximity detectors to detect threats from behind, which means that if an officer's sitting in a dark parking lot and something is approaching them from behind, the car will know, it will display it on the dashboard, and it will lock and roll up the windows. So as the dangers of being a police officer in America are ever increasing, Ford has got their back. Thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, try to avoid these cop cars in your life unless you're a cop, and I will see you in the next one.